Okay, Dr. Hopewell, Dr. Lynn back here for Methodology 2.0 how-to video. We're into the procedures section of our and ethical considerations section of our methodology portion, chapter, if you will. And we just wanted to highlight a few things. So in the procedures section, and this is not to be confused with the data collection section, which we'll get into later, but in the procedures section, you're going to talk about, how does this study go forward? So it's a myth. You can see here that it's a mixed method study and describe why that is. And then you're in this section about the role that you as researchers will play. And this is the part of in other sections, in academic writing, we try and stay away from the personal pronouns. But in this section, you will go ahead and move into that um, role as the researcher in describing what you will do. So you can see that this student described their role. Are they the classroom teacher? Are they, are they a technology coordinator? What role do you play in the context that you've just described in the methodology section? So we're also going to talk about ways in which you will maintain objectivity, or you will do the best that you can. And what this does is it lets the reader know that you understand your role and how you influence the students, and that what you're going to do to try and minimize, controlling of the outcome. The next thing that you want to also talk about is the obtaining permission. And so in this case, this student wanted to do audio recordings. So you can see here that they said that they're going to obtain permissions, which we're also going to be talking about in ethical considerations. And so this section it can be rather brief, but it also lets the reader know that you are considering some of these important aspects.
Okay, that walks right into the next section, the ethical considerations. This is where you're really going to be applying at least some of what you learned when you completed the city training for the human subjects research. Ethical considerations, you want to clearly outline that you are going to take steps to make sure that you're following the guidelines that are set forth for human subjects research. First step that you take is obtain principal consent. And so this is one of the documents that you'll be writing at the end of this semester. You don't have to write it now, but it does need to be included in your methods section, acknowledging that, yes, that's going to be done. And you'll refer to it. You can see it says principal consent form, parentheses, see Appendix A. It's Appendix A because it's the first thing that the first tool or appendices that you're going to use as you implement your research study. So that's the first step. One of the things that I want to call your attention to, since the vast majority of you are involved in educational settings, it's really important that you reference or acknowledge your awareness of the Family Educations and Privacy Act, FERPA regulations. Those are federal regulations that it's very important that you adhere to. I'd highly recommend, if you're not familiar with those, you do a search and find that and just familiarize yourself with it as well. There's a document provided in content to give you some background about that. The next step is that you also will need to obtain IRB approval. And actually, that's another process that we'll be implementing at the end of this semester. The extent of what you do for that is going to depend on how you plan to utilize your research study once it's done. And there's a video provided about that, the different options for capstone, and we'll also provide guidance to you to tell you how many forms and at what length and depth you have to do. Another important part of that, though, is written parent consent form and student assent form. And you can see here that this student combined both of those into one document, and she refers to those as C Appendix B. One of the reasons that those are combined in this case is that this student worked with children who are under 7 years of age. And in that case, you're not required to have student assent. However, separate student assent is required for students who are over 7 years of age, and we'll give you that detail later in the semester as well. Just know that those are coming ahead. But at this point, for this submission of this assignment, you want to make sure include those as kind of a written checklist to make sure that you've done these and you're informing the reader in your methodology. Yes, these are important, and these is the kind of information that's going to be included in those appendices. Anything you want to add to that, Dr. Hopewell?
Yeah, I just wanted to draw your attention to some of the phrasing that this student used. Will be taken, will provide, will be determined. So you don't need at this point in the semester to be going to your principal or to be going to your parents with permission forms, none of that. We're still in the planning phases of this. And so as you write this, these are things that will be done. So this is as Dr. Lynn mentioned in the last video, this is a planning document. This is going to help you plan and help your reader understand what the plan is.
I'd like to add a little exclamation point to that because it's so very important. We're not just advising you to do that, we're cautioning you. Do not share this information at this point with your principal. Definitely do not share with parents. One of the common questions that I get from teachers at this point, they say, oh, we're having parent-teacher conferences. Is it okay if I go ahead and just let parents know that I will be doing this study and they will be getting a letter from me and a permission form asking them to approve? And my very emphatic answer is no. Absolutely not. At this point, the only person that knows about this is you, and you're going to get feedback from us. You'll need IRB approval before any of those forms are mentioned or provided to either your principal or also to any parents or students. So keep your lips locked and just do the writing for now.
Okay, so we've gone through a few things to help you with this, and we will have one more instructional video where we will get into the data collection section.